The owner of the Wagner Group threatens to pull his men out of Bakhmut after accusing Russian military command of withholding ammunitions, causing them heavy losses.
Serbian police have arrested the main suspect in a drive-by shooting that killed 8 people.
UNICEF says Sudan's civil war is taking a terrible toll on the country's children, with 7 boys or girls killed or injured every hour.
Italy's foreign minister has pulled out of his trip to Paris after a French minister criticized Rome's migration policy.
It's an announcement no one saw coming. On Friday, the owner of the Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, threatened to withdraw his fighters from Bakhmut in Ukraine. This comes after he accused the Russian military command of withholding ammunition from his men and causing them heavy losses.
Сними всех! У нас нехватка боеприпасов! 70%! Шойгу! Герасимов! Где боеприпасы? Посмотрите на них,
Prigozhin is known for his bluster, so it remains to be seen whether he will follow through with his threat. He claimed that his group had planned to capture Bakhmut by May 9th, a symbolic date representing Nazi Germany's defeat in World War II. The Wagner Group has spearheaded the Russian side of the struggle for control over the city for months. The devastated area has been the scene of the longest and likely the bloodiest battle of the war in Ukraine.
A suspect has been arrested after a second deadly gun rampage in Serbia in 2 days. The Interior Ministry identified the 21-year-old man as Uros Blazic. At least 8 people were killed and 14 injured after he allegedly opened fire from his car as he drove around the town of Mladenovac. The motive for Thursday's attack isn't known yet, but the president labelled it a terrorist act.
Ovim ponovljenim masovnim zločinačkim napadom posle napada na našu decu, a zatim nasumičnim napadom na svakoga ko se slučajno pronašao bilo ispred lovačkog doma, na logorskoj vatri, bilo ispred svoje kapije radeći nešto. Ovo je napad na celu našu zemlju i svaki građanin to osjeća.
The latest shooting comes amid mourning for 8 children and a guard shot dead by a 13-year-old boy in a school on Wednesday. Euronews Serbia's editor-in-chief says the nation is struggling to comprehend the horror.
On the first day of national mourning for the 8 children who lost their lives in school shooting in Belgrade 48 hours ago, Serbia has to mourn again. And even though last night's tragedy, unlike the school shooting, is not unprecedented in Serbian history, there were massacres like these in Serbian villages even in recent history. The sheer fact that there were 2 massacres in as many days opened many questions and prompted an intense and emotional debate about the Serbia's gun laws, gun culture, and the overall state of the nation. Bojan Brkić, Belgrade, for Euronews.
Deadly shootings like the one that killed 9 in a Belgrade school on Wednesday and at least 8 people a little more than a day later in Mladenovac are rare in Europe. However, data collected by a Serbian weapons expert and a Swiss-based independent research project suggests that Serbia ranks 3rd in the world in number of weapons per inhabitant, after the United States and Yemen. There are an estimated 39 weapons per 100 Serbs, according to the data.
Much of the region has a very strong firearms culture. So the guns are going to stay. They're there. A big advance would be bringing more of the guns into the registration system. And that's an important national debate that the country has been postponing. The law has gotten better in many ways, but enforcement is not as good as it should be.
However, data cited by the Serbian president suggests the number of registered weapons in Serbia has continuously decreased in the last 10 years.
This is a very distinctive part of the world. There's a lesson there. It may need distinctive solutions. And a lot of the policies that have been followed in Serbia and neighboring countries have been very standard European kind of gun control policies. There may be a need for something different. The really dangerous guns are semi and fully automatic. It's modern guns. The really old guns, great grandpa's rifle, it's dangerous, but it can't be used for mass killing. It's just not suitable for that. If the law and registration, if security measures can address modern weapons, that's a big advance.
It's been suggested there could be 1.5 million illegal weapons in Serbia, remnants of the Balkan War or from trafficking. As people in Sudan flee the violence that has engulfed their country since mid-April, news is emerging of the toll this civil war is having on children. UNICEF says the information it's receiving from health workers in the country paints a terrible picture.
Welcome to the press briefing here in Geneva at the UN. Today is Friday.
The reports we have received are 190 children killed and 1,700 injured. Now, when you break that down over those 11 days, that means that every single hour you have 7 boys or girls have been killed or injured. Again, these are only children getting to health facilities.
On Friday, the Sudanese army and rival RSF agreed to observe a ceasefire for 3 days, but it's rare for truces to hold for long in this war. There's increasing concern for those trapped and displaced by the fighting, and aid workers and civilians have said there's a dire lack of basic services, medical care, food and water.
Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani has called off his visit to Paris after France's Interior Minister criticized Rome's migration policy. In an interview with RMC Radio, Gérald Darmanin claimed that Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni was, quote, unable to solve the migration problems on which she was elected, and he accused her of lying to voters during her campaign. Tajani, who was due to see his French counterpart today, called the remarks unacceptable and pulled out of his scheduled trip in protest. Darmanin also compared the Italian premier to France's far-right Marine Le Pen, adding that the migration crisis has gotten worse since Meloni was elected, not better. The comments come during a dispute over where to allow undocumented migrants to disembark when picked up after trying to reach Europe from North Africa. Italy is struggling with a surge in arrivals, more than 42,000 since January. A jump from last year, when only 11,200 migrants reached Italy in the same period. The sharp rise in numbers is a setback to Meloni's party, which made election promises to crack down on irregular immigration.
Residents in southern Spain are living with contaminated tap water after record temperatures and drought during spring caused the local drinking water basin to dry up. The Sierra Vieja reservoir near the city of Córdoba is almost empty, meaning locals are now receiving water from another lake which has been contaminated by years of manure dumping by dairy farmers. The tap water is dangerous to consume, and it's forced residents to get their drinking water delivered by truck.
Hasta ahora no me habíamos dado cuenta, yo por lo menos personalmente no me había dado cuenta cuánta agua se necesitaba en una casa, hasta que nos hemos tenido que poner allá en la garrafa, comprar agua y es muchísima agua.
En el siglo XXI no es normal que pasase esto, pero bueno, ha pasado y tendremos que ir sufragando las cosas como podamos.
Spain broke temperature records last month in an unusually early heat wave that's raised the risk of wildfires. Last year, the country experienced its hottest year since records began.
Less than 6 months since ChatGPT hit the world stage, unease around artificial intelligence is starting to spread across multiple industries, including in Hollywood. In addition to seeking better pay, anxiety over chatbots writing or rewriting scripts is one of the reasons screenwriters took to picket lines earlier this week.
We need to make it clear there needs to be a human writer in charge, and we're not trying to be gig workers just revising what AI does.
We don't want corporations to decide that AI can replace us, because it would be cheaper for them. Good for them, that's a smart business move, but it is not at all a human move.
The popularity of ChatGPT has sparked a surge of people to invest in new AI tools. The technology can convincingly mimic the way people write and create new images, music, and computer code. Although the technology has also sparked concerns that could take away jobs or trick people into believing disinformation.
If you look at these large language models, they have about 1 trillion connections. And things like GPT-4 know much more than we do. They have sort of common sense knowledge about everything. And so they probably know 1,000 times as much as a person. Even if they can't directly pull levers, they can certainly get us to pull levers. Mm-hmm. It turns out if you can manipulate people, you can invade a building in Washington without ever going there yourself.
Meanwhile, in the United States, the White House told the heads of Google, Microsoft, and 2 other companies that they have a moral responsibility to protect society from the potential dangers of artificial intelligence.
Protect society as well as to advance.
For Coronation Weekend, commuters in the UK will hear a very important and often ignored message by their monarch: to mind the infamous gap between the train and the platform.
My wife and I wish you and your families a wonderful Coronation Weekend.
Wherever you are travelling, we hope you have a safe and pleasant journey.
And remember, please mind the gap.
The message comes ahead of King Charles III's coronation on Saturday, and people will be flowing in from all over the country and abroad to see the festivities in London, which means millions will need to remember to mind the gap.